Hello, hello. Oh, we're in here. Okay, good.
Hey,
Hi. There, that's better. Hello. Hello, 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 hello.
looks nice
I'm
and
so
green out there.
excited. Yes, getting there's tons of birds chirping and lots of big bumblebees all around. And it's 7:40 a.m. here. Yeah. So welcome. Thank you for
It's so
joining
much fun
me.
to be meeting with you on here. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Um, yeah, so I just wanted to share like a little bit about my story and how like you helped me immensely because this was a couple years back when um, I had this encounter with my first like light codes when I saw it and I didn't know what it was. And I was doing Google searches. I was Googling like Egyptian hieroglyphics, because that's basically like what I was seeing. It's like these gold um, light codes. And then your book was the first thing that popped up, and I got that book immediately, and I really resonated with it. A lot of what you were saying in there was, I was constantly getting woken up between the 3 to 5 window, always waking up basically at kind of at the same time, looking at the clock and being like, why do I keep waking up at this time? Not really understanding why. And yeah, so first my first experience was um I had like a sleep paralysis. I don't know if you've experienced that in your previous, or if anybody has experienced that before. I had a couple sleep paralysis events in my life. One of them I remember being in Victoria. um, and oh, are you still there? Did we freeze? Oh no.
There we go.
You had like this like perfect like face pose with your smile. I was like, wait a second, you're not moving. um,
Oh my God. I wondered, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but I'm really glad it wasn't stuck on like,
it was just like this really like calm face. Yeah, so let's get the tech working really well. Thank you. Um, yeah, so I was just saying where I had like sleep paralysis. I ended up feeling like normally when I have had that in the past, it's kind of like startled me quite a bit.
yeah.
And I was half asleep and I heard this voice just saying, just send love. Because I just couldn't move. And then I just did that. And I felt like, I didn't know at the time what it was, but I felt like I just was like, kind of just had an out of body experience. And I was actually in the astral, and I was above my bed, like still lying down. I didn't realize that. And I just felt this overwhelming feeling of unconditional love, unconditional love. And then I saw all these light codes like wrapping around me, and the room was dark. And they looked like gold hieroglyphics. And then they just kept going all around. And again, like this feeling of unconditional love was something I've just never experienced in this way. It was just the most amazing experience. And then at the end of my bed, I saw this like being, uh, it was like almost like a gaseous kind of like, not quite in like full form, and it was like bluish purple, and it just was looking at me, and I remember exactly what it was wearing. It had this like cape, but it just looked really beautiful. It was just staring at me, and I saw it like blink, and still just like felt this feeling of unconditional love. Didn't know what I was seeing, didn't know what I was looking at, and then I instantly woke up. Didn't even realize I was like a sleeper in that, that astral space at the time. And yeah, again, I just did a Google search on like hieroglyphics. I don't even know. And then it wasn't until it was a few days later I went to it was like a crystal trade show, crystal show, and I was walking all like around looking at the different crystals, and on one table, completely out of the way, there was nothing around it. There was no other. It was just on its own on this table right as I walked past, and it was an oracle deck, and it was called Beyond Lemuria, and the same being that I saw in the same outfit, like, was on that deck of cards, the front deck.
Wow.
And at that point I was like, I was like, that I need to get that oracle deck, because A, I'd never seen that. I didn't know what that was or what I was looking at, and B, it was too much of a coincidence. And then so after I did that, and I like did the Google search, your book was the one that came up, and then I just was just engulfed by it. And please, please, please share your story, because it resonated with me, of the waking up between, those 3 to 5 every day. And yeah. Thank you.
Wow. Well, thanks for sharing your story. That's pretty powerful, to be basically levitating off your bed and then like encased almost in like light codes. Like, wow, what a powerful experience.
Yeah, a good wake up, right?
Yeah.
Time to wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is funny, like you mentioned that sort of 3 to 5 a.m. block of time. That's where that veil is thin, and it's a lot easier for us to have those experiences because of that. And so I have a similar story where I was woken up at around 4 o'clock in the morning, and could see, I think there were five light codes floating in the darkness of my bedroom, but I had no idea what they were, but they were beautiful, and the effect on my body was really profound. Like, I was vibrating and buzzing, and I knew like something was happening, and and it felt good. Like, there was nothing scary about it, but it was totally foreign to me. Like, I had no idea what was going on. But there were these codes floating in the darkness of my room in this brilliant silver color. So not gold like yours, but silver. And I drew them. I was able to draw them even in the dark. I grabbed my journal and I drew them in the journal. And it was that night or early morning, that I was introduced to my head guide at the time. He's no longer working with me, but at the time he played a big role in, I think, the development of my understanding of light language and light codes. So yeah, that was my beginning, very similar to yours. And when this happened, I'm trying to remember if it was like 2015, I think 2015, 2016 that this was happening. Um, and I had no idea what they were, and I didn't know what to search for or who to ask. I would go around asking people at the crystal fairs and the spiritual fairs and the metaphysical shops and stuff like that, and ask them. I'd show them the codes, and do you know what these are? Do you know what these are? And people would look at me and say, I don't know what they are, but I like them. And I was keeping track of the codes in this little book, actually. So this is my very special. It's a beautiful handmade leather bound, and then handmade paper, and then these are the original codes. And
Wow.
they would come off with a little name and a short description, and I just kept track of them in here. And if you have my books, you'll recognize those codes. So I would carry this book with me to all these events, and I'd shove it in people's faces. Do you know what this is? And eventually someone said to me, "Oh, I think those are light codes." Well, I think that was about 2018. And so I went home all excited because now I had something to Google. But at the time, there wasn't anything really on light codes on the internet that I could find anyway. Um, so I wasn't learning very much other than I knew at least what to call them. And I figured that they were energy symbols of some sort. And I had studied some Reiki, and so was familiar in a way with some codes of sorts that were healing and people liked. So I thought they were all good things. And then it wasn't until my editor, like I was thinking about publishing because I had enough people who were like, I want this book, how much for the book? And I said, well, it's my original, I can't give it to you. They said, well, you have to publish. So I said, okay. So I finally realized I had to do this, and I found an editor and I showed her this book, and she said it's great. She's a bit of an intuitive and psychic as well as being an editor, and she said, I think it's going to be really good. I think you're going to do well with it. I think it's definitely worth doing. You're going to help a lot of people. And so I was thrilled with that. It's what I wanted to be an energy healer. I wanted to help relieve pain and suffering. And I thought, man, if one person buys this book and they're touched by it, I've done my job. Like that's literally how I went into it. She said, but people are usually accustomed to reading about stuff in books. So you need to go back to spirit and ask them to give you more information on these codes. And I went, oh man, like I didn't even know if I knew how to do that. Like, so I went home and I sat with this book and I opened up to like one of the codes and was like, okay guys, what can you tell me about it? And it was amazing because it just flowed. I was just started writing and writing and writing. And it was the kind of thing, or it was so powerful that I'd only be able to do like one or two codes a day, and then I would be flat out exhausted, flat out exhausted. So to channel information on 52 codes to make the little book of light codes was quite an ordeal, and I think very transformative for me because I was getting all these downloads of information. It's super intense. So yeah, I mean that's kind of the evolution of it. And then at some point I realized, well, I could ask spirit what light codes are. Because here I'm channeling like all this information on them, and I still can't find anything really on the internet to tell me what light codes are. So I finally figured out, oh, I could ask. So I did, and that's started this ongoing conversation, this evolution into my understanding of what light codes and light language are, because it's just so deep. It's just so deep, and I'm floored by it. Like time and time again, because just when I think I have a grasp of what it really is, they give me another tidbit and it just blows my mind. So it's an exciting topic. It's a topic that can really grow with us. Uh, and it's also a very humbling topic because we're never, I don't think, going to really know the depth of what it all is. I don't think our brain can truly comprehend. It's like trying to truly comprehend the mysteries of the universe, because what I've come to understand is the light codes are the universe. They are the foundation of the universe. And even people like Billy Carson have started talking about that our holographic universe is built from codes. And it's these codes. It's
Yeah.
these codes, and we're just getting them more and more and more because of our location proximity to the photon belt and the energies from the great central sun. And that's why we're having so many people awaken, to become aware even of light language and light codes. So I think this is a perfect segue into what's our understanding of of light codes. So I'd love to hear
Yeah.
what you have to say about that.
I mean, every day I am learning so much, so much. Um, I absolutely, I know that I'm filled with unconditional love every single time I'm working with light language. Um, I feel it. So I I can see, but it's not as strong as like when I can hear and I can see, and so I can hear and feel, and just I do believe that it's just coming, like everybody's upgrading and the technology is upgrading. Like this for me, it's it's a light technology. You can do anything with it. Like I just did a course. My last workshop was on specifically abundance, 4 weeks channeled light language, and I thought, I had a good idea of what was going to come through, but it blew my mind. It blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind. And then with the work, um, I really feel that I trained in Reiki, and that's just another form. Like Reiki was initially started by one man, and like that's how that name came to be. But I truly believe that's that's light codes, that's light language, and that was just one version. And it's progressed, and it's always continuing to progress, and it evolves too. Like I'll do a light language transmission either for clients or in my workshop, and it'll be like, listen to this 3 times, and each time you're listening to it you get something different from it, and it evolves to what you need. They're intuitive, like it's so cool. um and yeah, just the more I learn, like the more I'm filled with this unconditional love, and the experiences that I've had with um healing and clearing illnesses. um it's like it's raising your frequency and the frequency of others, and it's like getting them to a spot in their frequency for them to heal themselves. So there's just yeah, that's what I think. That's my experience. Again, I'm always continuing to learn. Like it's it's pure unconditional love, light energy for me. Yeah.
Totally.
And
Yeah. Yeah. So I love what you say there, because for me, that's total resonance. That, yeah, light language is light energy, it's light consciousness, and it's basically everything that's around us that is the light. And the reason why, when we look at the light codes or we listen to light language transmission, and every time we look at them, every time we listen to it, every time we're in the presence of it, of the same one, and you receive something different, it's because not only are we in a different space, as in we're continuing to evolve and we're continuing to make to heal and make different connections to things as we go about our lives, but consciousness is always continuing to evolve as well. So that's the codes, light language being an expression of the divine, an expression of the universe, an expression of consciousness, is always evolving, because consciousness is always evolving. And those topics that the light language is connected to or is expressing is a way for our beings, our consciousness, whether that be our emotional body, mental body, physical body, spiritual body, or all of them in a totality, various levels of our higher aspects or lower aspects, all of it is, we can tune into the information or the healing that is prudent in that time for us as we continue down our path. So it's always going to be different, it's always going to be evolving, and it's always going to be in perfect alignment with where we are at any given time, because it's of the light. It's the divine. It is universal love in action. So how I like to kind of see the light codes and light languages, the light language is a long drawn out stream of information, healing, something of that. It's one or usually one or the other, I find. I don't find that they overlap too much. It's kind of like if you go for a Reiki healing, or if you're channeling Reiki yourself, that's healing energy coming through. It's not usually information that can be translated into human language. It's just like, here's a beautiful healing energy, you know, or you're channeling intellectual information for somebody. It's not a lot of overlap. I mean, there is some, and it can go back and forth really fast, but I find that it's usually one or the other. And so light language is going to be that. It's going to be either an information base, which is something that's translatable into a human language, or it's going to be a healing base, which is just like, wow, that feels good. And that's maybe it's a healing activation, whatever you want to call it. Like again, we can be working on all levels of our being, like our physical body or spiritual body, or I'm throwing elastics around. Um, yeah. So like the that's a long strung out energy stream. And then if we were to say we were doing a long strung out energy stream on the topic of connecting to the higher self. Okay, that's a big one. People love to connect to the higher self, right? Now,
Mm-hmm.
if we were to condense and compact that down, we'd have a light code. So we take that long energy stream and we compress it like a zip file on a computer, and that's your light code. And now you can, instead of speaking or dancing or expressing this huge array of energy of the light language, you now can just have something, a little bite size, easily digestible code that's packed full of information that now your being gets to work with over time. And what I find with codes is once you've been in their presence, so I know there's going to be some people who maybe they wonder, well, can the blind work with light codes because they can't see them? Like, are they going to be able to use them? And the answer is absolutely yes. You can see you can have a printed light code in front of a blind person, and the energy from that code is going to be emitted and going to be picked up by that person's energetic bodies and is going to be worked with just as if someone who can see is going to gaze upon it. So being able to see it isn't a prerequisite to be able to work with them. We just have to be in their presence. But when we do have a code that we've taken into our energy bodies, it's with us now. So it's not something that you have to like it's not something that you have to memorize. It isn't. We're taught in Reiki to memorize the symbols to be able to bring them through, and that's fine. I'm not going to speak on Reiki practices, but for just general light codes, if you just have that in your being, you're always going to be able to recall it when you need it, either consciously or unconsciously. And the reason why I know this is because I have not memorized the hundreds of codes that I've channeled now for over the last several years. But when I'm meditating and I need a code, if there's something going on that I want to align with or release or whatever's happening, that code is going to show up and I'll recognize it, go, oh, I remember you. And it's so cool. It's so cool. And I'll even get the name, and then I can go look it up afterwards, be like, man, look at me.
That's so cool. That's
Like,
so cool. Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty
and
fun.
yeah, no, I remember that too because when I first started reading the book, like it was like, sit on this, but not sit on it, but meditate on this for a week, like just like let it kind of integrate and then move to the next one. And I remember I was like, I want to go to the next one, the next one. And I was like, no, I'm going to integrate this one. But it was, yeah, it was profound. Um, And then, yeah, and so then from there, was that your first book that you did, or that was
Yeah.
your first one? Yeah. And then you did your next one, then you have like workbooks with that as well. Um,
Yeah, so I made a journal for the first book, The Little Book of Light Codes, and we're actually just now recreating that journal, and it's going to be so much better. I'm really excited about it. It's less of a journal and more of a workbook, and it's beautiful. Um, but I'm not sure when that's going to launch, but it'll launch this year. Yeah, it's coming. And then we made oracle cards as well because I wanted people to be able to, um, like, here's an example of one of the cards. They're really nice cards. They're really good and sturdy. And um, because, like you say, the directions were to work with one code a week. And the reason for that is the integration period, and also to be able to reflect on the energy that you're working with in your daily life, so you can see how, like, it's amazing because your world will reflect back to you what you're processing, and that's a neat experience. And um something that people who have done A Course in Miracles will understand. The Course in Miracles does the same thing, and they have their daily lesson and they keep moving along. And you don't jump ahead. You do your lesson of the day and you leave that for the day, and then you do the next day, and so on. And so I was kind of mimicking that a little bit, except saying, I think we should wait 7 days before we move on to the next code because there's a lot to unpack. Remember, these things are continuing to expand anyway as consciousness is expanding, just as your consciousness is expanding. So there's a lot, there's just so many levels that are being touched when we work with the code. So I thought, wouldn't it be cool when you're working with a code that you could have something that you could hold on to and you could put on your altar, or you could sleep next to it, or you could charge a crystal with it, or charge your food or water or whatever. And this is your code for the week. And then after you're complete with that, then, like, after you've done the year, because would be a year-long process,
yeah.
52 codes, 52 weeks in the year. So if you actually did it that way, it would take you a year. Now you're left with a deck that you can use as an inspirational deck. You can use it as an oracle card deck. You can use it as a healing deck. You can use it as like a professional tool to work with clients in a variety of ways. So it's a very versatile tool to have in your toolbox. So that's why we made them. And then, yeah, and then I went on tour. I went to Australia after that book came out, and because I felt like I need to get this book around the world. So I went to Australia and to their Mind Body Spirit Festival in Brisbane. And this was in February of 2020.
Mm.
And so blessed to go there. We went to New Zealand. I went to a yoga festival and had a booth there and shared it there. And then COVID hit. And
Yeah.
we were flying home literally the day that Trudeau locked down the country. And I got in just under the wire. So we landed in Vancouver at 7:30 in the morning, and at 10 o'clock, he basically shut things down. So
Wow. Lucky you
that
got right in there.
got just slipped right in. So yeah, so that was good. But then I did the 2 week quarantine anyway, just because I didn't know what was going on, and I had just been on an airplane on the other side of the world, so I thought I'd better, um, you know, be appropriate and quarantine myself, even though it wasn't actually mandatory at the time. But yeah, and during that 2 week quarantine, I meditated a lot. And what else are you gonna do? I was alone in my itty bitty bitty little apartment.
Quarantine.
Yeah. So thank gosh I had a balcony, so I could like go outside on the balcony with my cat and get some fresh air and stuff, and bang the pot at 6 o'clock. I don't know if anybody else knew about that, But at 6 o'clock every night, we'd go out on our balconies and bang pots, and it brought like the whole neighborhood together. But anyways, during all those meditations, I was like, well, I may as well write another book. So I was going to do a light code book for parts of the body. So I was going to do one for every organ, for the glands, for, circulation, for like try to get a good base for codes that would help to support optimal function in the body. And then that way, if you were dealing with something, then you could go to that body part and find a code that would support optimal function, right? So it's not going after disease or playing doctor and anyway like that. Just being like, here's some tools that might help you to, bring in the good energy to sort some stuff out, right? So
Yeah.
that was my plan. And I started with the liver because I do a lot of liver flushes. And so I already have an understanding of optimal liver function just from doing those liver flushes. And then it was like Spirit said, well, this is important and would be good to do. It would be better to do it with somebody who knows more about the human body than me with I don't even really have biology 11 like like I don't know a lot about technical functions of things. I know a little, but um my partner's a chiropractor and he would be much better suited to partner with me on that and get that going, but at the time he wasn't in my life. So I said, okay, well, what do you want me to do then? And they said, go get your old journals. So I went and I grabbed my old journals. There was like 4 of them, and they said, just start reading. I was like, ooh. Like, so these journals were going back to like 2012 all the way to basically 2018. Dark Night of the Soul after Dark Night of the Soul after Dark Night of the Soul. So much pain and suffering, so much confusion, so much like I don't even want to be here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like just tough stuff, right? And partly because I had an injury and I didn't know, like back in those years, I didn't know if I was going to get healed from the injury and so on. But that's a conversation for another day. So I went, wow. And they said, well, we want you to share this stuff. We want you to share the messages that we gave you to help you through these, because it's relatable. Everything that I was going through, even though it was my personal journey, was relatable. Everybody pretty much goes through very similar things. It looks different. The personal story is different, but the energy is pretty much the same. And I wanted to create with this book the end of pain and suffering. So I was like, why do we have pain and suffering anyway? What the heck is this all about? It's because it's total BS to me that we should have to go through this. And they said, well, we have humanity has this soul wound. And the reason for the soul wound is because once upon a time when, we were all manifested as a great consciousness, the great consciousness wanted to know more about itself. And so there's now all these little souls and we all make up a great consciousness. And then it was like, well, go do things and explore and discover, like go be free, which is free will. And it's of love, because if we weren't allowed to do that, then it would actually go against the laws of love. So it was like, go be free, go explore your free will, which is the ultimate gift in love. And we all went, wait, you don't want me anymore? What's wrong with me? Why am I alone? Why are you casting me away? Why? And so there's this separation created and this giant misunderstanding that causes the I'm not good enough, nobody wants me, a lot of like, I don't even know, I can't even like name all of them, but all the fundamental energy comes back to not being one with the great consciousness. So there are codes that represent all that so that we can connect to it and heal that and move on from that. And wouldn't it be amazing if humanity could do that? So that is Light Codes for the Soul, which is the
Mhm.
second book that I wrote in 2 weeks during quarantine. That's this book.
Ah,
I
it's
know it's
amazing what a
backwards.
2-week quarantine can do.
I
Yes.
know. I wrote a whole book, a lot of deep exploration. So that book, not a lot of people know or understand how personal that book actually is. Because although all the codes that I brought through were specific to the topics that I was guided to create for the structure of that book, the stories and sort of the undertone of message was from me feeling, just going through Dark Night of the Souls repeatedly, and the messages that Spirit gave me.
Yeah, I 100% relate to that. A million percent, because when that was happening to me in previous times, I did not understand. And now I can say, like, looking back, I am so incredibly grateful for every single moment that I've ever had of, you know, feeling like I'm being knocked down Mount Everest, in all areas of my life. And really knowing that I had to go through that, and be grateful for every moment of it, because I wouldn't be where I am today, and if it wasn't for all those experiences. And also, like, just, I like to say, like, I was awoken with, like, just a great curiosity of, what's this, and that was kind of the perfect example of, like, once, for me, once that started, and seeing the synchronicities, like once you're kind of on that, once you go down that, and then you, like, it's just kind of like, it's like a full speed kind of running. At least it was for me, and it sounds like it was for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it is, and it's like, I know that there's so many people that are going through a similar experience, and they don't understand why things are happening. But a really clear message came through, and it's a quote, but it's like, I woke up one morning with this, like, a message in my head, like, just, the universe isn't happening to you, it's happening for you.
Mm.
And so, like, working with it in that way, and, like, if you, I'm just doing a generalization, but if you've lost your job, or, like, a relationship ends, and, like, you may not understand at the time, but just, it's all leading you to, like, your highest timeline, your correct highest timeline. Because I feel, yeah, a lot of people are going through that, and I know a lot of people are probably waking up between 3 and 5 and wondering why they're awake.
Yeah.
It's the perfect time to meditate.
Big time. Big
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
also
just a
too, like,
simple, sorry,
no, what were you gonna say?
just a simple meditation. It's amazing because the veil is so thin at that hour. You don't have to try very hard to start receiving those messages somehow. And for those who this is new for, and don't know what to expect, the best thing is to not expect anything. Because as soon as we start adding expectation to something, we're actually limiting the means by which that information can start coming to us. So, like, if somebody is hell-bent on seeing energy, then they're probably not going to see it. And they're probably not going to develop the skill of what their true gift is. So, for example, someone might really want to see, and so they're in their effort to see so hard, they're not getting the knowing, or they're not getting the clairaudience, or something that actually could be their true gift. So my advice is to be open to all the ways that information can come in and be as well-rounded as you possibly can be in doing so.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because when you don't have that specific like this has to be done this way, it's like, oh my goodness, it's going to be done in so much like more than you could possibly imagine. Like just kind of I always now just say, I want something to just beyond my wildest dreams. Like I'll just leave it at that. I know like the best things are going to happen, and that's just it always works out that way. Um, yeah. So, did you want to do a little light language? Actually, I think it would be good to explain more so like just more about the light language transmissions. Like
Mhm.
for me, I I'm so integrated with like my own, I want to say my own soul's light language, but then at different times, like if I'm working with clients or if I'm doing different things, then maybe a specific light language will come through. I can tell the difference between the different ones, but you know it based off of like you'll be like this is from I don't know, like let's say like Arcturians, like specific Arcturians or dragons or and then like so what you shared actually with when you were working in groups, if you want to
Oh
share
yeah,
that, and then afterwards then we can do a like a little light language meditation after.
sure. So what I've come to understand at this point in my journey with light language is because everything is energy, and therefore everything has a unique energetic signature. So you have a unique energetic signature. I have a unique energetic signature. Earth has a unique energetic signature, so does Mars and Venus and every other planet, every star system, every galaxy. And so they all have their own energetic signatures. And then the interesting thing is, humanity has an energetic signature. If we go to a constellation like Arcturus, star system rather, they they have a general signature, but then they also have signatures within signatures. So like if their higher consciousness, which I've connected to being a high priestess consciousness, that would have a different signature than the general Arcturus consciousness, that sort of thing. So it really gets quite complicated and complex because it means that you can be connecting to sky's the limit, you know. But just trying to think like so so light language, does your audience know about how have you channeled light language for them and how it sounds funny and all that stuff? Do they know all about that?
Yeah, like I posted a bunch of different videos, and then I'll do sometimes I'll do it just depends. Like the last one I did was to help with the solar eclipse, and so there's just a bunch of different light codes that came through in different yeah, but not specifically as to what they are. But yeah, just like how it just comes out. And when I do it as well, like my hands are moving usually, because I'm in channel. And yeah, I mean, I get there's different responses with that. Like it depends on the person, like what they're if they can feel, if they can see. Like some people can just see light codes coming out. Some people can feel it, like feel the release. Some people can hear. But yeah, I haven't. That's as far as I've gone, which doing
Yeah.
different meditation transmissions. Yeah.
So when we're channeling the light language, it's we're channeling this energetic stream, right? Like we were talking about before, it's energy of some sort, healing or information or whatever. And and it's coming through as a sound vibration because that's what we're using to express it, right? When we're speaking it. And I think I've heard you say before that it's not about the sounds, right? It's not about this, it's not about the words specifically that is connected to the energy, because it's not like our human language where we've assigned a word to mean something. So like we all know what a dog is. We're always going to know that when we say the dog ran across the street, we know what that means. We have a picture in our mind and we understand that because we have this language and associated with those sounds that this is what we're talking about. But with light language, it doesn't work that way. So we can have basically an infinite number of sound combinations that are going to define the energy of dog.
Yeah.
So I do like when I give workshops and stuff, I'll give the example, be like, okay, so the dog could be kanet manai, but it could also be chikaniso, or it could be dala dogamati. Those are all the energy of dog. And it's always going to be it's never about what it sounds like. It's always about the energy that's coming through on the sounds. So that's why it's very difficult for our brains to understand and not think that this is made up and doesn't mean anything, because that's not how we're brought up. It's not how we're trained to understand things. So when we listen to light language and we're listening to this gobbledygook that sounds like a child's made up language that we tell the child not to do. A lot of times, a lot of the adults are
Yeah.
like, don't speak like that. And
I,
oftentimes they
I
are actually speaking light language.
yeah, I know. So I'm just moving it closer to the house there because it was like a little spotty.
Mm.
I know, and it's like I've been around children and just hearing them speak, and I'm like, they are so speaking light language. But it's also too because we have our own like we have when we speak the words, everybody has their own meaning behind the words, what that means to them, and they all have a different. So say they have a reaction to a word and they don't like the word and they hear the word, that's a lower frequency, and all our words carry almost like a lower frequency because we have attachments to the words.
Yeah.
And so this is, it's like a way to like by not having those specific words that we're attached to, it's bypassing the mind.
Yep.
And going straight to the soul and going straight to where it's meant to go without getting hung up on what that is. So it's just letting that flow.
Yes. It
Yeah.
goes to the heart center. It
Mm-hmm.
goes to the heart center, and then to have access to the heart is to have access to the soul. So it goes through the heart and then up through the higher centers. So where a lot of the third chakra is actually our intellect, believe it or not, because it's not up here. It's actually in the gut, in the third in the solar plexus. A lot of people don't realize that, but so when
Yeah,
we
the solar plexus is like the
get that,
motherboard of
yeah.
like, yeah.
So our light language is speaking directly to the heart, and then that's why yeah, it's bypassing that limited thinking, like exactly what you're describing there. So you had asked me to share a little bit about speaking in a group that I got the privilege of working with recently. And I was explaining a little bit about what light language is, just like we have been having that discussion here today. And then I said that I can channel multiple dialects because all this is different frequency ranges, and I have conscious connection to those things. And so, is there anything that people specifically want me to channel? And so they did. They had quite a list, actually. But one of my favorites was this lady who had done quite a lot of work. I'm not particularly sure specifically, but it was some some guru, East Indian guru. I don't honestly know if this person is living or not. I don't know. But she said, "Oh, can you channel so and so?" And I kind of looked because I have to like look to see if there's a connection point for me, and yep, there it is. And so I said, yep. And I started channeling in light language, and then there was a little bit of English in there. They wanted me to translate a little bit because I can do that too. If it's translatable, then I'll translate it.
That's so
And
cool.
then there was like different tones coming through, and anyways, just a bunch of light language. And from there we went into someone wanted Mother Mary, someone else wanted the Milky Way, somebody else wanted the High Priestess of the Pleiadians, someone else wanted Atlantis, I believe. So that was pretty neat. We covered a lot of ground. And then afterwards, there's all the mingling afterwards and stuff. And this lady who had asked me to channel the guru, she comes up to me and she says, "You were really channeling that person." And I went, "Great, like awesome. Thanks for the confirmation, right?" And she said, "Yeah, you were speaking some of the specific tones that we use in our chanting. You were speaking lines of Sanskrit. You were speaking like all this stuff." And I'm like, wow. Like I had no idea. I'm just I'm the humble channel. Like she was calling through whatever it is that needed to come through, and that was a really cool experience. Yeah, really, really neat.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, I definitely I I resonate with that, and it's for like I said, like every day I'm always learning. Um, I I absolutely love it, but it's like I'll get here, like where I am specifically, it's a very, I have my headphones in, but it's just full of, you know, beautiful trees around and like birds, and it's just very peaceful. It's like a sanctuary here, and it's like one day I'll be visited by, well, yesterday I was visited by Merlin. That was like an experience in itself, but it's like different energies. Sometimes it'll be Arcturians, or like just it's it's always just like someone's popping by, and then I'm learning about, like it'll be different light language, or it'll be different like knowledge gifts, um, and so it's really really cool. And I think too, just to say this, because I know if I would have thought it differently like years ago, I probably would have started meditating before, but it's just a way to just like clear your mind, and it can be done in any way, like a way that lights you up. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be like so structured, and like, because so many people, they'll try to meditate and they just can't clear their minds, or and so then they just don't want to do it. And so it's like if finding a specific way, like what brings you joy, you can do it through dancing, you can do it through singing, like in and just that's just like there's so many ways to do it. I think just that would have been super helpful for me to know, because there's more than one way. I think as this with life, there's more than one way for many different things, right? So that's at least for me, because I can tell you that I definitely did not have the I just it didn't resonate with me just for sitting for a long time in silence, like for a really long. I can do it now, but like that was like a basic one. Like I would have been doing this maybe I mean, definitely when I was a kid, if I would have known that it's actually not as difficult as it kind of like, it almost like we have attachments to it. I don't know, is
Mhm.
that the same with you, or yeah?
Yeah, I think when I was younger, I had an aversion to even the word meditating. Like I kind of had judgments around it. So
Yeah.
I realized like it when I was around 20 or so, I'd lay in my bed at night, and I had this wood paneled wall. And so there were a lot of like knots and stuff, like wood knots and lots of grain and things like that. And so I'd lay in bed at night and I'd stare at this wall, and it felt really, really good to let my eyes soften and just stare into the wall. And it was as if I was traveling through the grains of the wood paneling, and I found it very calming. I found it deeply fascinating. Like it was really an interesting thing for me. And the weirdest thing happened one day when I was softening my eyes for a while and just staring into this wall. I looked down to see my hand and my forearm, and I could see through my arm. Like it went from being solid, and then I could see the muscles and the veins, and then I could see the bone, and then all of it disappeared. All of it. Like then there was like it wasn't even there anymore. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. Um, and it wasn't for a few years that I realized that that was kind of a meditation practice. Oh, no, 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 I don't meditate. No, because that's silly, right? Like like I see people sitting on a mountain cross-legged or, in lotus, and like I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's weird. That's how I thought back then. And now I love meditating. Proud
Yeah,
to say it.
yeah, it's amazing, and it's yeah, and it's funny too because some of the things I'll do, like when I'm posting stuff now, it's like a light language meditation, or it's like a light language transmission, because it's whatever works for each person. Like you can, when I first started doing this, like it's like I would need to kind of be guided in, um, and still like there's some days I like to do like a guided meditation, but other times I'm like, all right, straight to light language. And then that, like, just by hearing it, like, you know, like us when we were just about to this, just by hearing it, it's like everybody's going to get their own, like exactly what they need while they're listening to it. And then it'll continue to evolve, integrate for what they're needing. It's like, it's so cool. But like, so transmission, meditation, whatever you want to like use the word, whatever attachment, again, like people have attachments to words. This is just, we've circled right back around. Like you had an attachment to the word meditation, but you were doing it.
Yeah.
You just didn't want to say it. Yeah, so cool. Um, so yeah, let's do our little meditation transmission. I don't know. Did you want to lead, and then I'll say something, or how did you want to do it?
Well, I'm feeling a bit torn between like offering an activation, like a strong activation for people, or something that's softer.
I'd say
What's your sense?
activation.
Yeah,
Activation.
you want
Yeah.
to hit it hard?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the
Um,
best way. And
Okay. Oh,
then
of course. Of course. Yeah, that's preface this that is all of the channelings, at least for me, and I'm sure for you as well, are done in accordance with love, which means that the higher aspects, that each individual person has complete control over their bodies, their energetic systems, their entire being. So anything that we're offering here is an offering that you can choose to align with or dismiss at your discretion at any point as well.
yeah, agreed.
Okay, so I feel like doing, I guess, a light body activation that's since we're pre-eclipse right now, um, light body activation to align with the seeding energies of the eclipse, because I think there's a lot of big energies around this eclipse, and we want to direct them. So I think the channeling we should do is helping people to direct them. So bringing in the higher aspects to really do that. Does that work for you?
Yeah, sounds good. So, and then I'll do I'll do light language at the end of yours, after when you're done. And yeah, I'm already getting like really hot. Really, really feeling really hot after just by talking about that. This is going to be good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you playing along, let's tune into our heart space and tune into the feet. We want to be nice and connected to our feet so that we're as grounded as possible. And we are connected into our heart space because that's going to help integrate the energies in the most perfect way. So just slowing the breath, tuning into the feet, and tuning into the heart space. You can place your hands over the heart if that is beneficial for you. Otherwise, not. Eyes open or closed, whatever's most comfortable. So we're activating the light body in association with eclipse energies for the perfect alignment of the seeding energy from the eclipse. Remembering to breathe deeply through this entire transmission. Pana ayo, pama ayo, pena e sakina, kukamanda, tikamati, chikama, chikama, chikapata, chikana, chikaman, chikana, 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 ho. Hona dati rana da day, so get the Damant, Gramata da day, so Gamati, Titanias, but rana day, so pan, hop and a day is run to go chickapata joe. Patadias run to the lotomato. Pananale sugabranda de gamacho, Paranine sugabrana de capacho, Gramati, Chichamat, Gramati, Papana to Gamachiano, Patti is a tranity, Shigane is Sugamat of Gushkamati, Sugababani, Sugrani is a mambabo, Paddy is a granada layers of Gramata, is Pantekia, Patakimati is a Papani, Sugabo, Shikanadi is granite lays, Gamadi Grove, Papadisada, Hadarias granite lays, Gamach Gramati, so Tanata Yesupa. Gianna Trana de Lacy, your Trana de Lacy, Canada. Brana de Lacy, Gianna Shigabananda, Grana de Shigaba, Durana de Gabot, and Adaisa to Grono, Patadisa, Papa Panese, Rapa Panese, Prata, Papa Paranese, Papa Padratasia, Papa Padrasia, Porapata Rapata, Siachgrana de Grana de Yasotana, Nushana, Di Sukapato, Goma, Parana to Grana to Vishkamatio. Prana to Brasia, from Matasho, Pama, Ezio, Dropa Panasio, Shropa Panasio, Shropa Panasio, Pa ISO, Pa ISO, Pa ISO, Pa ISO, Pa ISO, Pa ISO, Hampa, Hapa, 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 Ayot, Granite Light, so my she granted the Senate to go to Gimo, Pa. Hina Au, Hina Au, Hina Au, Hina Au, Hina Au. Hina ao, 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 Sana tiao, Sana tiao, Sana tiao, Sana tiao, Sana tiao, Sana tiao, Paya to, Paya to, Paya to, Paya to. Hinako, 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 ho, ho, han, han, yo, yo, sao, pao, sao, pao, sao, pao, hona, 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 ho. Sakina tokamata, kianatano so, tada isikina te bi koramate la ishukapata sa, tokima tayesa machiona sakamanti grota kane se la ichina to yupati pizza kane de late china to gomani sata to wakana de la isimichina to kupatato. Patia papanet se patanana se tokina tadai tsukajitana to go. The granite lucigamadi kinat corona patadorgomana surgigamati sadadogomata lochima, Padia satian rushgamati, Paddy usuka anna shikaba isuka rana tele isukujina tokamanta santan tokamata isia tokame isina to yoshikana isikabati isichichina to tadadade sahara hara. Yinakama tia sama hara hara. Tia sama tia sada hara hara. Bio tokamati kakana. Hamado, habado, hadado, hadado, ho. Hara hara. Hara 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 sa sa sa.
Beautiful. Ki atoro toko ona asi isa ata 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 kina asuk ona ki kun esina atatatai oko toko toko ritik ataya tokorota si isa na aya toko tokorota sina ayaka aturota si isa aturo toko na I see isa na I see isa asa 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 kisa aisa atuto kotoroto si inta asuk utkoroto sokotoroto si isa asa 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 kina atoroto si kina atoroto heart expansion sik 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 na atututututu breathing out kurutu 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 Kiana atoro to sikina atoro to sikina atoro to katina ayak 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 otoro to kono koto kono. Breathing in light 360 degrees. There you go. Whew, I
Lovely.
am super hot.
So you channel the
That was
same light
beautiful.
language as Althea.
Oh, do I?
Do you? Mm-hmm.
I follow her. Yes.
Yeah.
I is it this is it the okay. That makes a lot of sense because I really really resonate with her as well. Um that's I did you can you see specifically like when you're doing activations or is it just
Yeah.
flow?
I watch it. Yeah.
That's so cool.
How about you?
That's so cool. I feel it. Sometimes I see, but it's mostly feeling, and then getting specific information about like what areas. Um, yeah, it depends. Like I find it depends on like where I am
Mm.
as well. Like um, different areas. Like I know. Like I think I was telling you a little bit about this, but um, oh, you're welcome. Yeah, just like when I popped into Laos when I was like there for a few days, just noticing like more of like big shifts than what I was seeing compared. So I find it's very like depending on where I am too. Like when I'm out and about, I can see different things. But so it just depends. Yeah, yeah, that was
Well, it's
wonderful.
good to
Thank
be
you, thank
open
you.
to it all, right?
Yeah, yep, yep, yep. Thank you very much for joining, and I definitely would love to do this again. And I mean, I feel like we could just chat for hours, to be fair.
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah, and hopefully, the keep on flowing. Yeah, thank you, everybody, for joining. And yeah, I think on another time like the more interactive we can be too, just kind of like if people have questions like can get really, really direct answers, so just I think that's something that we can do
Yeah.
on our next one. And yeah, have have a lovely day, everyone. It's morning for me here, and evening for
What a
you
fun way to start
guys.
your day. All light
I
language
know.
jazz.
Yeah, yep. Very, very grateful. Yeah, I guess everybody drink lots of water, lots of water. Um, I always find that super helpful. Is just like flushing things out too, and just being
Yeah.
hydrated. Yeah, do you have anything you want to add with that as well?
Epsom salts baths are always a good way to go. If you are able to. Otherwise, just good positive thinking as well.
Yeah, yep. All right. Lots of love over here from Thailand, sending to everybody who's watching as my voice goes. And until next time, thank you.
Thank you. Massive blessings. Have a great day,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye.